now we go to Nick Wright. Here we go, Nick Wright. Let's start with my top 10. Pick it apart. What say you?
Well, you have two obvious flaws. You were on a good run of herd hierarchy, but two obvious flaws. One is this. I am willing to wager any amount of money that if we get your top two teams in the Super Bowl and you are staring for 2 weeks at Reed Mahomes versus Campbell Goff, you are picking the Chiefs. There is no chance you pick the Lions if they play each other in the Super Bowl. None whatsoever. So in that circumstance, I'd say the Chiefs should be one. And the other one is this. Why are the Ravens ahead of the Steelers? I understand the Ravens didn't play this week, but they had lost 2 of their previous 3. When they played each other head-to-head, they lost. I don't understand the argument, especially because Russell Wilson's one of your long-lost adopted sons.
Yes.
How you would have the Ravens ahead of the Steelers. That surprises me, I have to say.
Well, Pickens was out this week, and it became increasingly clear they are super dependent on him down the field. So that worries me. Yeah. But
they won anyway. Teams need their good players. I agree. Teams are worse without their good players. That is definitively true. I just think the Steelers are better than Baltimore. But sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to come back to the Chiefs, but I want to start with Philadelphia. So clearly since the bye, they have said, we want Jalen Hurts throwing less. And it's working. And now A.J. Brown's not happy with it. You know, it's just a holiday tradition. Philadelphia gets in their own way. And Nick Sirianni doesn't do personnel or call plays. And it feels like, just get the locker room right. This worries me. Exactly right. Does it worry you?
It worries me too. And I've come around all the way on the Eagles, where a few weeks ago, picked them to win the conference because my preseason picked the Chicago Bears, while not officially eliminated. I've got to say, not looking great for the Bears. So I had to pivot off that, Colin. This Eagles story bothers me for 2 reasons. The first one is what you said. I don't trust Sirianni to get his arms around it. And we saw last year, this team was 10-1. It started to get away from them, and it absolutely twisted into as bad of a collapse as we've ever seen, culminating in a team just quitting in a playoff game. So that worries me. The other part of this that is bothersome is I think A.J. Brown is so wildly out of line here, It's incomprehensible. You are arguably the best player on the team. You got paid as a first-round pick. The Eagles then traded for you and paid you top of market. This offseason, they paid you again. So a brand new contract. So it's not even like, I'm in a contract year, not throwing the ball is going to hurt my numbers. You are one of the best players, a veteran, a leader on a team that has won 7 in a row, that is 11-2. The only narrative out of the locker room should be, you guys thought our defense couldn't do it. How about them proving you wrong? And we're so excited that Saquon is going to break Eric Dickerson's record. That's all you got to do. If privately, quietly, behind the scenes, you want to say, I want more touches, so be it. But for A.J. Brown, out of nowhere, to start a fire, and then Brandon Graham, who's on the team, he's not retired, he maybe will be soon, he's on the team, to go on the radio and be like, yeah, it's a shame. Jalen and AJ used to be friends, and they're not anymore. Out of nowhere, the Eagles are in disarray again. And so it's totally self-inflicted, and I certainly don't trust Sirianni to be able to fix it. Listen, you can only shave your head once. He already played that card, so I don't know what the next move is, and I'm worried about Philadelphia for sure.
I have tried to be, humble on Sam Darnold. It's getting increasingly difficult. He looks like the world's greatest player. So, but it's really a dilemma because J.J. McCarthy played for a run-first college team, got hurt, second surgery. He could be very good. Darnold is close to the MVP conversation, and momentum in this league is a real thing. Daniel Jones isn't it. J.J. McCarthy may not be it. Do you just let Darnold walk, I think you have to franchise tag him, don't you?
I think you franchise tag him just to trade him and make sure it's similar to what the Patriots did with Matt Castle a lifetime ago to the Chiefs and try to get a second-round pick or something for him. I think if you're Kevin O'Connell and you won 13 games with Kirk Cousins and it looks like you're going to win 13 games or more with Sam Darnold, you have a belief your system with this talent can win double-digit games, and there is a reason you moved off Kirk Cousins to go get J.J. McCarthy, and it was because you thought your team with that talent, a quarterback on a rookie pay scale, and more upside is the way to go. I certainly don't think you can pay Darnold what the market will pay him. I think he's going to get a lot of money. I think somebody is going to have listened to you for the last decade, watch this film, and be like, my God, this is the player I saw coming out of USC that Cowherd's never been able to quit. But I think the Vikings should franchise to trade, not franchise to keep. I think you got to give J.J. McCarthy full ownership of that team next offseason.
So we had, J-Mac and I had a severe disagreement. I said there's a time and a place for everything. And Belichick attacking the UNC job, and apparently he came with a binder, like 400 rules, I won't do this, I won't do that. And I said, Carolina's too good of a job. It's a top 20 job to basically be backed into a corner and been told by a guy that's never coached college, this or I'm out. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I get Belichick doing it, but I don't have to agree with your push. J-Mac and I said to J-Mac, if you had the choice that he will be a disaster in college or he'll be Saban, and you had to choose one, I would choose disaster, doesn't work, can't stand the donors. But J-Mac and others think, oh, this is Saban reincarnated. I don't see it. Do you?
Well, I don't think, listen, if I can only pick disaster or maybe the greatest college coach ever, I'll pick disaster. I believe, and I would assume you probably believe, it's more likely somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
That he's fine, but not overwhelming. And at 72 years old, and I do think it's fair to question a 72-year-old that at least through Instagram and some of his public personal decisions might be going through some things.
Yeah.
That if he's the guy I want to turn my college program over to, when I think he's then turning it over to his son in 2 or 3 years. I have a different theory about why all of a sudden Belichick is looking at the college game, and I think it's twofold. One is, I think he is very nervous that he is not going to get, if he waits for the NFL jobs, he's not going to get one. That there's going to be 7 or 8 openings, and 7 or 8 teams are going to pass, and if that happens, his coaching career is kind of over.
Yeah.
The other thing is everyone assumed he's at 333 total wins, Shula's at 347, that it's so important to him to go get that record. I wonder if Bill is doing the same math I'm doing, which is saying, all right, even if you go get that record, are you just holding it for a year for Andy Reid?
Yeah.
And I know people are like, oh, Nick, you're a Chiefs guy. Here are the numbers. Andy is at 296. Since Patrick has been there, they average 15 wins a year, playoffs and regular season combined. 15 a year. He's going to end this season right around 300 if he's at 296 right now. He'll be 47 away from Shula himself.
Yeah.
That means 3 great years or 4 mediocre years. So how important is that all-time coaching record if you actually only hold it for 12 months before Andy Reid blows past you, which Andy signed a 5-year, $100 million contract with the Chiefs reportedly. If he coaches those 5 years, he is going to run away with this thing. So I think all of that is happening here. I would imagine North Carolina doesn't have the stomach to say no to Belichick, but I don't know that I think it's a great fit for anyone involved.
So you know what I want to end with? Because this is interesting. So I was thinking of you the other day when Buffalo was letting Matt Stafford, I mean, it was a 7-on-7 passing camp. and a punt blocked and 9 guys on the field. And I was thinking, this is exactly in what Nick talks about. But here's the thing, and I mentioned this earlier. Are the Bills the Warriors with Mark Jackson? He starts a structure. They get to 50 wins. They're very good in a playoff team. Kerr comes in and turns Steph from star to superstar and really flips the Draymond switch. Mark Jackson was good. Sean McDermott's good. Kerr was great. And that McDermott is...
I think that's a really unique comp. And I hadn't thought of it that way. I also wonder if there's just too many close game, clock management, tough loss fiascos for McDermott. Think about it, Colin. This has kind of been forgotten. So I thought the end of that game was... And again, I believe in the Bills this year. Before the year, picked them to win the AFC East. Thought they could be the 2 or the 3 seed. It looks like that's where they're going to land. I thought Josh Allen plus the best offensive and defensive lines he's ever had, that's 11 wins minimum, and they're going to blow past that. However, the end of game stuff is a concern with this guy. And the quarterback sneak, and shout out to Tom Brady, I thought he was all over it and exactly right. What you cannot use a timeout there. It's the worst thing you can do. But then you mentioned the 9 guys on the field on the punt block, and it reminded me of a game that kind of got forgotten to last year's history. Last year, Russell Wilson and the Broncos are playing the Buffalo Bills. They kick what should be the game-winning field goal down 1.
Yes.
They miss it. And the Bills had 12 on the field.
Yeah.
So they got another shot at it and made it. So last year, and that was for the Bills to drop to, I think, 6-6. It was right before they went on that winning streak. You had 12 on the field. This year, in your last gasp of a game, you have 9 on the field. There's just a lot of situational that it just feels like, man, you cannot make those types of errors against Reed and Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you do lose this, if they play the Chiefs in the playoffs this year, which they hope to be able to do, and you lose, that's 4 out of 5 years the same team has sent you home in the playoffs. Man, oh man, that's tough to stomach.
It is. Nick Wright, co-host, First Things First. As always, my friend, a good day, good holiday season to you and the fam.
Absolutely. Great to see you. Talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks, Colin.
You bet. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.